Um, I also want to talk about this changing your definition of a high value man for a bit, right? That was a big one for
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
What made you think you were high value at first?
Um, I, I do pretty well in my career. I have historically. I've we live in a really nice home in a nice suburb and get new cars every couple of years. We go on great vacations and I'm pretty thoughtful. I have been thoughtful throughout our marriage with anniversaries and birthdays and I'm in tune enough with my wife, even in my most oblivious moments. Um, those things are very important to her. Like if she doesn't get a card for stuff, forget it. You're dead. Um, so I was always in tune with that. Um, I coach teams for my kids and, you know, I have friends and, oh, he's a great coach. I coach lacrosse, which I didn't never even play lacrosse. I'm committed hockey dad. I go to a ton of hockey stuff with my younger son. And you have, oh, you're a great dad. You have people tell you that stuff, right? You're a
Mm.
great husband. Oh my God, you guys look so happy. You're doing such great stuff. You're so sweet to her. So you think like, I even do the grocery shop. I even do dishes, right? So I do dishes, right? So like not a lot of guys do dishes. I do dishes and I hired a maid and all this other stuff. So you think like I'm taking care of her, I'm providing for her, but I didn't realize what I was missing. I didn't realize the things emotionally that I wasn't doing for her.
So what is your definition of high value now?
Yeah, it's different. Um, so being able to understand people on an emotional level and to make people feel like when they're talking to you, they're fully heard and understood is hugely important. And somebody who could create safety with people to where they can talk to them and feel understood by them. I had a moment a couple of weeks ago where my wife told me, the kids don't come to me anymore and tell me, don't tell dad this, but right. So they would go to her all the time, like, hey, don't tell dad, but I got this going on at school, or don't tell dad I have this happening. They don't do that anymore. They'll actually come to me and tell me stuff.
Yeah. And it's almost like the way I see it is like if you look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs again, you have the higher pillars like esteem needs, like safety needs, you know, self-actualization needs, love and belonging, stuff like that. Those needs. So first of all, right, a lot of people, a lot of men, with their definition of high value is really low level. Even when you get to the second level of that, which is like the safety needs, they're still talking about physical safety. They're not talking about emotional, psychological safety. They're still talking about the lower end of that safety, but not love and belonging, all these things, right? Think about how replaceable the low level ones are. I can find any woman can find millions of men like you who is willing to do dishes, who's willing to get money, who's rich, who is successful, who's whatever. There's millions of those. But there's very few men who can operate at the top, the self-actualization, right? And the thing about that is like society has seen like self-actualization, love and belonging as something very mysterious, something very mystical. Like you either got it or you don't. We can't really explain it. You either feel love or not. You know, but here in this program, we're trying to deconstruct how to create that, what that means to create love and belonging, self-actualization, whatever it is, with the 5 pillars, right? And so once we can create that, right, that's when your relationship now becomes a lot more irreplaceable. Because my partner, for example, will never say, will like, I'll be dumbfounded if she left the relationship for another person because who else can give her that environment of self-actualization that she wants? That's really hard to get. Most people can't even put it into words. And it's really hard to create because it's not something you can directly create. So you cannot just tell someone, can you please feel more self-esteem? Can you please feel more love and like you belong? Like, look, we have a family here, right? It's almost like growing a plant, right? You create the environment for it, for the plant to thrive, and then the plant can thrive. You can yank and pull and get angry at the plant for not fucking growing, but it's not gonna make the plant grow. You just have to create this right environment. And being a high value man to me is a man who can create the right environment to grow the higher level plants of that hierarchy of needs. Kind of thing.
It's I think at times we're taught as men that the high value man, but the low level shit we're providing is what we're supposed to be doing, at least when I grew up. And, being in touch with your emotions and understanding people and all that, like it's a little bit simpy. So me being this emotional guy and understanding people at an emotional level, what's wrong with that guy, right? Let's
Yeah.
go throw a football and lift weights, which I love to do that too. But that's like,
Yeah.
I'm not.
Let's think about football and basketball and yeah.
Yeah. Right. Why are we talking about emotional safety and not who's starting for the Giants this weekend? Um, so
Yeah. It's funny you say that because right now we're having kind of like the main point of discussion in our marriage right now is, Jeff, when do you want to retire? Because she sees the emotional toll, the time toll, the energetic toll, the psychological toll this business has on me. Dealing with marriages with difficult people is not easy every single day, right?
I can imagine.
Um, so here we are, right? We make we take home about 2 million a year right now
It's
after expenses, which is good. And then
fantastic.
plus our investments, we're taking home about 4.5 million a year, right? My wife would rather me give that up to have experience, live the higher level values, right? She doesn't give a shit how much I make. She would rather live a life where I make zero and actually is there for her every single day than me making 4.5 million and me being in this office all day long. So the topic of discussion is like, how much longer do we want to give
Don't
ourselves?
quit yet. We need you.
Yeah. So that's the topic of discussion. But like that really goes to show too of like how this lower level values, once you get the higher level values, these lower values shit, they don't matter anymore. They're just like pee-wee game level. Like who cares about that stuff? Like money is it's nothing anymore. This. So yeah, just change your definition of what high value means, right? You have like guys like Andrew Tate who's like flashing their cars and their money and whatever it is. Like nobody cares. Like at some point, the right people, the right women, the right partners, the right people who are going to stay with you for the long time, they don't care about any of that stuff. Your kids don't care,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah. Um, and you also said like it's like you thought it was wimpy to actually ask for help. What was that about for you?
I don't know. Like, you know, my wife's always been into therapy.
Mm.
And, when I think it was 2013 where she suggested for the first time we should go. And I looked at her, I'm like, I don't need therapy. You need to go.
Yeah.
Right. Because how dare you say it's me? Um, I don't need that shit. So I'm sure it's for women too, but especially for men. Like, oh, I'm supposed to be a tough guy. I'm supposed to be able to work through this shit, right? I'm supposed to be, I provide for the family. I can work it out myself. And I think that one of the things the past couple of years has taught me going through all this stuff is like people are really uncomfortable talking about this shit.
Dude,
They're
So
really
I I
uncomfortable talking
I
about
have a
this
lot to
shit.
say about this. Okay, sorry to cut you off, but like, so obviously this is my job. This is my livelihood. This is my life, right? Talking about relationships and stuff like that. Of all my friends, only one person really knows what I do. My parents don't know what I do. They don't want to talk about it. Every time, right? Like, it's so funny. Like, every time we have dinner with like a larger family, I would say, well, people ask me, like, what do you do? Oh, I help people save their marriages. My dad would cut me off and go, but he's also good at golf. Right? They're so uncomfortable, they cannot deal with it. My wife's family doesn't understand it, right? So I get what you mean when people say, when you say like people are so uncomfortable talking about this, you know?
People
Yeah.
are really uncomfortable talking about it. Like people, and you talk about in the program, like getting help from the right resources and the right people. People have been through fixing themselves before, because like, man, people have some crazy opinions on families, relationships, on everything. Like you get some wild advice from people when they're like, oh yeah, we're separated. They're like, oh my God, crazy, how are you in the same house together? So it's interesting, the things you hear.
Yeah. So I think like just to recap this point about like what it means to be a high value man, wimpy or simpy, whatever it is, right? Again, high value is about how much you can create the value of the higher level pillars, right? And you have to realize something here. You are asking your partner something really big, which is to spend her one and only life and dedicate it to you. Think about how big that is. And if you want something that big from her, you better deliver big yourself and stop parading and justifying your low level shit, right? Be real with yourself. And if you are not giving that high level value and your partner is not deciding to spend her one and only life with you, stop getting so offended, right?
Right.
It's not like like when I was younger, I used to get really offended when like girls would like say no to me. You don't want to go on a date with me? How dare you hurt my feelings like that? But I'm like, dude, how can you get offended by that? Like, do you realize what you're asking them to do? Right? It's fucking insane if you think about it. Um, and guys, it's okay for you to seek help, but seek the right help, right?
Yeah.
We always say, it's great that you're learning from your mistakes, but the even better way to do it is to learn from other people's mistakes, right? Here we are, we have created a program that has literally saved like thousands. We've seen the pitfalls of so many relationships, and we've been there. We know how this is done, right? So how many relationships have you saved? Kind of thing. Just humble yourself a bit.